Alright guys, welcome back to the Guitar Max channel. So last year, as you guys may know, I started checking out some of the gear from Hotone. I think I started with a wah pedal and then I went on to the Hotone Ampero MP100, which is like one of these all-in-one multi-effects units and amp modelers. And that video did really well and people really seemed to dig that stuff. And so now I have a new offering from Hotone. This is the Ampero II Stomp. They were cool enough to send this to me, and this thing is a total powerhouse of a guitar effects unit. Now this is an effects unit, but it is also much, much more. And so in this video, I'm gonna go through this thing, check out some of the really cool features and highlights of it. But I also wanna see if I can figure out how this relates and fits in with the existing lineup of multi-effects units, in particular the MP100, which I checked out earlier. So we'll look at this one, but I also want to check out the differences from the earlier model here and see if we can figure out how you should choose between these two, depending on what your goals are. It's no small task, but together, I think we can figure it out. So what does this thing do exactly? So first of all, it's an amp modeler. It's got a huge range of effects, including cabinet simulation, and you can load third-party IRs, impulse response profiles in here. It has MIDI input and output, and it has a USB connection, and you can use this as an audio interface for your favorite DAW. It has an auxiliary input, a headphone out jack, a looper, a tuner, and one of my favorite things about this unit is that the signal path in this thing, the entire thing, is stereo. So you can have a stereo input, it has a stereo effects loop, and a stereo output. Now, for guitar, you can see why you would want a stereo output or a stereo effects loop, because there are some really cool, like, delay effects or flangers or reverbs, which use a stereo effect, so you get this really super wide, like, panned effect. But what about a stereo input? Why would you want that? Well, in my opinion, one of the coolest things about this unit is that it is not just for guitar. In addition to all of the guitar amp models, there are also bass amp models, acoustic guitar models, and even effects, which you can use on keyboards or synthesizers. And that is where having the stereo input is really important. When we get to the demo, I'm gonna do some guitar and some bass, and even I'm gonna hook up one of my really old Roland synthesizers, and we can use that stereo effects section. Okay, so obviously this thing has a ton of features, so let's go through some of those features and listen to how they actually sound in action. Now, real quick guys, if you like videos like this, checking out cool new guitar gear and also staying up on all the latest things in the guitar universe, and you have not already subscribed, please consider subscribing right now. Okay, so now let's get into the demo, and I'm going to use my Harley Benton Fusion 2 for the guitar demo, and I'll use my AIO JB4 for the bass demo, and then I will use my absolutely ancient but totally awesome Roland JX1 synthesizer for the synth demo. Okay guys, let's get into this. Okay guys, so after messing around with this thing for quite a while, and to be totally honest, I've had this unit for a couple of months now, and it is just, it's taken me a while to fully appreciate how good this thing sounds. I mean, the amount of computational firepower in this thing is staggering. So it's really no surprise that the amp models and the effects and the cabinet simulation, all that stuff sounds so good. Also, the menus and the editing is very, very easy and very intuitive. I would say that's an upgrade from the earlier MP100 model. This unit here, the Ampero II Stomp, is really easier to use and it's more intuitive. It's the kind of unit where you don't have to spend so much time looking at the manual, but just by looking at the menus and using the touchscreen that it has, you can pretty easily just figure everything out that you're supposed to do with it to edit patches and so forth. Now, another thing that I really like about this unit compared to the MP100 is, again, that it has that full stereo signal path throughout the entire thing. You've got stereo inputs as well as the stereo effects loop and the stereo output. Now, the older unit, the MP100, it has a stereo output, right? And some of the effects you can run in stereo, like you can pan them and so forth, but it just has the single input, a mono input. So if you're planning on getting an effects unit that you want to be able to use with a stereo input, especially like something like a keyboard or a synthesizer, you really are going to be better off with this one right here. Now, that being said, there are some trade-offs between these two units. Now, let's talk about the price of these. The MP100 is going for $399, so $400. And also, guys, I should mention that I'm going to put a link to my original review of this thing down in the video description below. But anyway, this unit here is $399, 400 bucks. This one here is $100 more. So you've got more inputs and outputs, you've got an expanded MIDI capability, and just an overall better signal path and a better effects section. But you're spending an extra $100 to get those additional capabilities. And also, look at these things right here, right? There's clearly something missing right here. This has an expression pedal, so you can use a volume control or a wah pedal or even control some of the other parameters like on a delay pedal or something. This one doesn't have an expression pedal built in. Now, it does have an input for it, and you can get a separate expression pedal that you then hook up to this thing, so you can get the same capability. But just think about that. You have to buy an extra expression pedal, or maybe you already have one, but either way, this thing already costs $100 more. Imagine if you have to pay an additional $50 or even $100 to get an extra expression pedal. You're looking at then an increase of price between like $150 or even $200 to get that extra capability. Also, the MP100 has this old school drum machine built in, like these drum patterns, which I not so secretly love, although to be totally honest, I'm not sure how many people are actually using that. But guys, here's what it all comes down to. If you are looking for something that you're only going to use with guitar, and you are looking for like a single standalone unit that's just going to be your guitar tone, like your amp tone, then also your guitar effects, I really think this is the one you want to go with. I mean, it's $400, but it's got all the guitar stuff that you could possibly want in this thing, and it's got the expression pedal built in, and it's perfect for guitar. But if you're doing more than your guitar, if you're using other instruments, or you're using this in a studio situation where you're going to be routing like a mixer or a synthesizer or a keyboard through it, then I do think you're going to want to have the extra routing and effects and signal capability of the Ampero II Stomp right here. Okay guys, but let me know what you think about all that stuff in the comments section. And also, the Ampero MP100 has been out for a while, so I know there are going to be some people out there watching who own one of those units. So it's really useful for me and for everybody else watching if you can leave some comments about what your experience has been like owning one of those units. Now, of course, I'm going to have links down in the video description below for everything I was talking about in the video, not just those units, but also for the guitar and the bass and everything I was using. I don't think I'm going to have one for the Roland synthesizer because that thing is like 40 years old or something, but oh well. And also, big shout out to Hotone for sending me that new unit to check out. It's really cool to be able to check out some of the cutting edge effects units coming out right now. Honestly, Guitarists these days are so spoiled when it comes to this stuff. I mean, the amount of firepower you can have in these effects units is just mind-blowing. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, you'd have to have a pedal board that would take up your entire living room to get the same amount of capability that you have in one of these units today. Alright guys, that is it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you soon.